Welcome to Whachacha's Tabletop World, a channel devoted to the love of board gaming. My name is Sweetness Whachacha, and this is my overview of Halloween, a hidden movement game, which shows you what happens the night he came home. Halloween is a one versus many game from Emerson Matsuuchi, who is taking the system he designed for Spectre Ops and using it here in the Halloween franchise. It's a hidden movement game where Michael Myers is stalking his victims and his victims are trying to escape. Over the course of the game, players are moving carefully through Haddonfield. They are moving in such a way to try and deduce where Michael is likely to be so they can avoid him, for long enough to find the keys, Tommy, and Lindsay so they can escape. Meanwhile, Michael is secretly moving around the board, trying not to be seen so he can get close enough and kill as many victims as he can. The victims win if they can find Tommy, Lindsay, and a set of matching car keys to the space that they're on. They can also win by killing Michael Myers by inflicting enough damage. The Michael Myers player can win if he kills enough victims or if he runs amok for a long enough time and he can't be stopped. To start, each player will get a character board and take one of the 4 victim cards. Each victim has a special power, as you can see here. Your dashboard acts as your player board, reminding you of key concepts. Your victim card also shows your starting space, your hit points, and your hand limit. Dr. Loomis and Sheriff Brackett can only be selected after a victim is killed, which makes sense thematically as they are responding to Michael's attack. And also these characters start with a weapon, making them stronger characters to start to reflect their knowledge and training. I want to mention that you can buy an upgrade for the game. It's a set of miniatures that replaces the standees in the game. It does include stickers that you can place on those so that you can see the direction the character is facing. Those are on pre-order right now, so I can't show them to you yet, but they should be available soon if you want to buy them. Let's take a look at the board in more detail. It is divided into quadrants, with corresponding decks for each. Each space is designated with a letter and a number, and you can see spaces are separated by solid lines, walls, which cannot be moved through or seen through, blue lines, which represent windows, which can be moved through and seen through, and doors, which can be moved through but not seen through. More on why this is important soon. On a victim's turn, you'll take 2 actions. You can repeat the same action twice if you wish, but you must fully complete one action before starting another. Now let's look at the victim's actions. You can move through a window, search, trade, use an item, rest, and attack Michael Myers. Move. You can move up to 4 spaces. You cannot move through solid lines. You can move through other victims but cannot stop on the same space as a victim. You can also move through doors. Move through a window. If you are standing next to a window, you can spend an action to go through it by placing your figure on the other side of it. While on or adjacent to a search space, you can draw a card from the search deck of your quadrant. Then, flip the token to the other side. If it started on this side, remove it. If the search token is not present, you cannot search here. If you have exceeded your hand limit, you must discard any extra cards to either the top or the bottom of the deck. In this way, you can put unwanted cards out of the way to make it easier to find useful items. Let's look at some of the different items you can draw. There are a number of cards you can use as a reaction to being attacked. There are some cards that have other benefits, and some cards that require other cards to be useful. And of course, the cards you need to win, and more. Speaking of items, another action is to use an item, like this skateboard or walkie-talkie. You can also trade items with other players. If you are adjacent to another victim, you can show, give, and receive as many cards as you like, with their permission, of course. You can also rest and return any exert tokens. Exert tokens are gained from a variety of effects, including getting extra movement when going through a window, and some action cards. And lastly, you can attack Michael Myers. If you are standing on an adjacent space to Michael Myers, you will roll a die. If you have a weapon like this gun, you can roll 3 dice and be standing further away. If you rolled a knife symbol, Michael will receive a wound and become staggered. More on that soon. If he has received 12 wounds, he will die and the players win. So let us take a look at a turn. Lori will search this deck, flipping the token over and looking at the top card. She has exceeded her hand limit, so let's put this less useful item on the bottom of the deck. Then let's move up here, through the door, and stop. Now that I am stopped, we check to see if Michael is visible. I am now looking out a window and can see through into these spaces. The Michael Myers player then places his figure here as he has been seen. I will note, however, if you try to move through Michael Myers' space, the Michael Myers player will stop you, place their figure on the board, and Michael Myers will get a free attack. More on that in a moment. This is a great opportunity to segue into the Michael Myers turn, which he will take after everyone else has gone in a clockwise manner. Like the victims, Michael Myers will get 2 actions, and you can also repeat your actions if you wish. The Michael Myers player will be using this board throughout the game. It is a replica of the map the main game is being played on, and contains the dotted and solid lines used to denote walls, windows, and other obstacles. Whenever you end your movement, you will mark on the board your current location with the included marker. You will note he has slightly different rules as he can pass through hedges. More on that. At the end of each round, Michael Myers will mark off the corresponding spot on his board. If he gets to this space, he will draw a card. He can have any number of these cards in his hand, and they will provide various effects that will give him advantages to move or... Michael Myers also has a player aid showing his actions. If he has been staggered, he will take more limited actions, and at the end of his turn, flip this card over. Michael will be moving around the board attempting to avoid being seen, so he can strike more effectively, and cause players to move slower and more cautiously and less efficiently when they are unaware of his location. Firstly, he can move in 3 ways, each of which has strengths and weaknesses. Michael can stalk, moving up to 5 spaces. This is the most versatile movement. You cannot move through solid or dashed lines this way, such as hedges or a window, and cannot end on the victim space, although you can pass through a victim space without alerting them. You can also infiltrate, moving through a window or hedge. And lastly, you can pursue, which is moving any number of spaces in a straight line, but you cannot end in a line of sight. Speaking of line of sight, anytime you pass through someone's line of sight, you will put either your figure there if you stop there, or a set of footprints to remind the players where they last saw you. And finally, you can attack, of course. If you are adjacent to a victim space, meaning no solid line between you, you will face the victim towards you, placing your figure on the board. You'll roll 3 dice, and the victim will take wounds according to how many knives you rolled. If a victim receives wounds equal to or more than their hit points, they are killed. If a victim is killed, you'll place their standee in front of Michael Myers. He'll need to collect a certain number of these depending on the player count to win the game. When they die, you'll place the items that they were carrying either on the top or the bottom of the deck, depending on which quadrant they died in. And in this way, it can be, you can place unimportant stuff on the bottom and important things on the top. There are a few more rules as to what happens when a character dies in specific places, but I'll leave that to the rule book. You'll then take a new character. You can now pick Sheriff and Loomis or any of the other characters, and they'll start in one of the street spaces on the board. And that's the game. Play will continue until Michael Myers either kills enough people or enough time has passed, or if the victims kill Michael Myers, or they get Tommy, Lindsay, and the keys on one of the cars and get out of there. So that's the overview of the game. If you want to watch my thoughts on the game, click the link below. But for now, I gotta roll.